Hello, everyone, and welcome to this season of the She's Got GAWL podcast. I am Ebony Phillips, your host, and when I tell you we have an amazing show planned, we do. And it's going to be an amazing year. I am super excited, if you can't tell, because this broadcast is brought to you by the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, and we have the distinct honor and pleasure of having the president, you heard me right, the president of the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers joining us tonight. Her name is Annie Jordan, and she is phenomenal. And so she stopped by for a little bit just to tell us some things about GAWL, and also kind of some things that we want to impress upon other women lawyers who are in the Georgia area, or maybe you're not in Georgia. We'd love to be international as well. We're not shy. But she also has some information about the impact that GAWL has as an organization. And so with that, I'm not going to do like a long intro because I want us to have plenty of time to talk about all the things GAWL. So please help me welcome President Annie Jordan. Hey, Annie.
Hey, thank you so much, Ebony. I love this podcast, by the way. I think you do such a good
Aw.
job of getting such amazing you have such amazing guests who are on here and the content is awesome. So I
Thank
am really
you.
excited to have the pleasure of being on this podcast and to speak to our membership.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here because one of the things that I found when I found GAWL was I found my tribe, right? And I know a lot of women feel that way. But before we get into the all the feels, I thought it might be good to just let the audience kind of know the significance and the history of the organization because it's been pretty significant.
Yeah, this is so we are now in our 95th year of the organization. So it
Wow.
has a long history. And I actually recently saw that it's one of the oldest women's bar association in the Southeast.
Right,
So it has we just have GAWL has been around for almost the entirety of women lawyers being
right.
present in Georgia. So
That's
our founding
amazing.
member, Minnie Hale Daniel, was the first woman to become a lawyer in Georgia. She got together with the other woman lawyer who was here in Georgia, and they said, "Hey, we need to band together and start out the organization." So that was our founding. And she has such an interesting story too, because Georgia was not one of the states that said, "Yeah, let's." They were definitely not excited about women trying to become lawyers
Right,
and
right.
founding. And in fact, Minnie Hale Daniel went to law school and was not allowed to admit. She wasn't allowed to be admitted to practice. She had to fight for years and years and years. So I just think that's what I think about sometimes when I think about the organization, that it was really born out of this fight to really get parity for women to get inch closer and closer towards equality and parity with our male counterparts.
That's so interesting that you said the first woman lawyer got together with the other woman lawyer. Like, I think sometimes it's easy to take for granted, kind of where we are and the strides that have been made. Um, and it kind of makes me think about perhaps maybe that's some of the mission of GAWL. Like, what is GAWL's mission? We know it's a phenomenal organization, one of the oldest in the Southeast, but what does GAWL really exist to do? What's the purpose?
So our mission is to support women lawyers and their interests. And so that's the mission. I don't know how long that specifically has been our mission, but it's been that since I started on the board. So we are a professional organization that is here to help women lawyers do what they do. So how I see our organization fulfilling that mission is, I think the number one thing is by providing a community.
Right.
So you said, or we were saying earlier, it's the first two women lawyers got together and said, "Hey, we need each other." And that's really what this organization has always been, which is having women lawyers support each other to navigate a system that has been male dominated since the beginning of laws existing.
And so as we talk about that, you've been on the board a long time. Like you're a long timer, right? And you do and you've done like a number of roles on the board. So your energy, your wisdom, all the things, Annie, are kind of scattered throughout GAWL just by the work that you've done over time. And it occurs to me um, that takes a lot, though, because being a lawyer is a hard job.
Yeah.
Being a woman lawyer is a hard job. And being a woman in general, some people might say, is a hard job. So I wonder why. Why is it that even though it's hard, and this is a volunteer organization that if you're really fully committed to it, sometimes it takes, it's a lift.
Sure.
If it's just me and you talking, right?
Right.
Why do you keep coming back? Why do you keep mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a fair question because I've been on the board since 2015 and I've been a VP. Actually, I was a chair 1 year, but other than that, I've been a VP every year since 2015. And
Okay.
it is a lot of work. I just love it. This organization has done so much for me personally. Like you said, GAWL is my tribe. Like that is so, so true for me. And it didn't necessarily, I didn't realize that in the beginning. You sort of go to events because just to go to them, and you don't really see where you might not immediately see what you're building, but then you look back after a few years and you're like, this is my network. These are the people that I go to when I need help. These are the people I go to when I need advice, when I need expertise. So the organization has been really integral in my personal career path and just life path.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just, I keep wanting to do more things for GAWL. I know a lot of people, so every year when we do our annual dinner and we change over the board to the new board, I feel like almost every single president talks about how great it is to be immediate past president. And I might feel that way on that day, but leading up to it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna leave. Like, I don't know if even after this I'm gonna be done. I might just come back and run another committee because I don't know if I'm ready to leave this organization. But it's really just been a labor of love for me. And I feel like I can see what it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that it has been such a great organization for me personally. And I just want to share that with I want other people to have that experience.
Right.
Being on the board, I have gained so many skills that I would never have encountered or have any reason to have. I would never have any reason to hone my skills at soliciting sponsorships or building relationships.
Right.
People who support the organization. Or when I was communications, I really would have no reason to learn as much as I have learned about graphic design. But GAWL has given me so many of those opportunities, and I feel like I'm just not ever going to be done trying new things and finding new ways to grow as myself, and then also for the organization.
You kind of led into my next question.
Okay.
Because you said you see what it can be, right? You've been all throughout the different committees and so on and held the different positions. You see what it can be. And
Yep.
So, Madam President, it is your turn. It is your turn to put your stamp on what GAWL is going to be, at least for the next board year. Like, what's your vision for us this year?
So I think, like I said, I really just don't tire of thinking of ways of trying to make the organization better. And now that I'm at this point where I have a lot more say in what we do, I think what I really want for this year is to think strategically about not just where we are today, but where are we going? So I've got several things that are my top priorities for you really just get the 1 year that's yours. And that's at the very top of the list, not just thinking through what are we doing today, what events are we putting on this year. I mean, we have an amazing program. We have incredible women putting on some amazing content, and I trust my board to do that. So I think that for our board members directly, I think I really just want to let everybody shine in their roles. But what I really want is to do, think more about in the next 5 years, what are we doing? How are we fulfilling our mission? Because the legal profession for women and the needs for women have evolved over time. In 1928, when the organization was formed, it was about literally accessing the profession at all.
Right.
And then as time progressed, it was about, we had a big push about trying to get more women elected to official positions, like being appointed as judges or being hired as prosecutors. And then it was about supporting people to, be able to overcome the overt biases that people were having. And now we're just we're at a different conversation. I mean, there aren't law firms anymore. Well, I mean, there might be some, but most law firms are not overtly going to be like, we don't hire women.
Right.
So it's
right.
a different set of challenges. And I think that's really what I want to do, is to do a deep dive into what our membership truly needs and how we can continue supporting women lawyers as the practice changes and how our world changes.
It feels like to me that GAWL has something for everybody, right? Like we've got the social, we've got the professional, the personal, the networking. For somebody listening to this who hasn't quite decided, because there are other organizations out there to join, right?
Yeah.
What's the pitch for GAWL? Like, what is it that you would say differentiates GAWL? And just what are some examples of those types of things that I mentioned, like social, networking, professional, and so on?
So I think you're right. We do a lot of different things. So there's not one thing that is a GAWL. A GAWL event doesn't look one way, right? Like we do all these different types of things. So I think one thing that distinguishes us is that we are the only state organization that is designed for all women across the state, right? Like we are statewide and we are really an organization for everybody. So I think that is one thing that is so unique about GAWL, is that it is supporting every woman lawyer, whether they are rural, whether they are in the city, whether they're at a big firm, whether they're a solo. We have all of these different ways. And I think the way we do that is through community. And we just have a lot of expertise and a lot of knowledge that comes from the collective body of our membership, not just the leadership that's deciding those things. So there's just there's so many things that you can do. So I know I've participated at our big events, like our annual dinner, which is a really fun party.
Yeah.
We have our judicial luncheon coming up, which is a way to interact with the judiciary, to meet up with old friends, but it's also a really, it's a more formal event. It's educational. We have an incredible speaker coming. We have the chief legal officer and executive vice president of Chick-fil-A coming to be our keynote speaker. So, we have all kinds of things like that. And then we also have, we also do things through Nicola's House, where you can give back to your community and find ways to, really fulfill your community service needs. And, then we also have things that are much smaller. So we have our mentoring circles, which are, they're organized, they're groups of people. I think they have between like 5 and 10 members each, of all different practice areas and all different phases in their practice. And I've been a member of my mentoring circle for like 10 years.
Wow.
So yeah. So, I mean, it's those small groups, and it's really just about connecting women with other lawyers.
That's enough to make somebody want to join, because you didn't even name everything. I mean, that's a lot. What you named is like a lot, and I guess depending on what a person might be looking for, and I know it changes. I know it changes. You mentioned like mentoring and so forth, and I was just thinking when you said that, I think one of the cool things about GAWL also is that we have a place for everybody, regardless to where they are in their legal career, right? So, we've got GAWL EDU, and then the mentoring circles, and then the leadership. So if you're a baby lawyer, well, what we used to call baby lawyers, I guess people don't call it that anymore. But if you're a new lawyer,
Right.
or if you've been at it for a minute, or if you're on the other side of things and you're probably 10, 20 years in or so, there's always room to grow and there's always a group for you. I find that to be phenomenal. And the fact that the organization has maintained that it
Yeah.
is really amazing because, sometimes it doesn't, those things like that are hard to sustain for organizations. But the fact that GAWL has been able to do that, I think is absolutely amazing. We didn't mention this in your intro, but you are the executive director of DeKalb Pro Bono. And I just love that because I know you and I know where your heart is. And so I know there's amazing work being done over there. And I did want to ask you though, because you are a leader and have led in so many different capacities, do you have any advice for any woman or man, I guess, but more so for the women because that's our most of our demographic on this show? If you want to take a leap forward or you want to sort of take on more responsibility or position yourself maybe at a higher echelon as far as leadership goes, what's your advice for those women?
So I think something, especially for someone who is not in a leadership position and is thinking about considering it, I think the best piece of advice I heard was at GAWL's Leader Within program. It was probably January of 2015. And someone said, the world is run by those who show up. It
Mm.
was, and I think that was, it would really, I was, because I really was a baby lawyer back then. And I did not know what it meant to, I thought you couldn't really sign up for a committee. Like, I really thought if I wanted to join a committee, like they'd want to see my resume and would be, you'd have to almost apply to be on a committee. And that is not the case. If you're considering joining a GAWL committee, I don't know if there's a single committee who would say no to any new, committee members. And I think really what that spoke to me as is, one, I shouldn't be afraid to just dive in and just say, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here and I am ready to show up and I am ready to take on whatever is needed of me. And then the other thing I would say is once you do show up, just be present. I think that's really been my strategy as I go through my, really my entire, in any leadership position, or really even if I'm following another leader, is to be focused on whatever is directly in front of me and only that while I'm there. So
Right.
those are the two things I think that have been my North Star is don't be afraid to jump in. The world is run by the people who just show up and say they want to do it. And then also just fully engage in whatever you're doing.
I love that. That's excellent advice. I wrote that down and then I put like 2 stars by each one of those. Show up and be present. And we've been talking a lot about women supporting their profession, but I do think that it's fair to mention that GAWL has men, right, who also support our mission. And how can men get involved?
So I mean, first of all, if you are a man, please don't be afraid to go to GAWL events. It is not only women. And you are certainly allowed to come in, be a member. But I mean, we always want to see women. I mean, we can't, equality is not something that is a women's issue. It is a societal issue.
Hmm.
And so for
Hmm.
any man who wants to join and really be engaged in the conversations that we have, get a better awareness and understanding, I would say, please do come to our events. Please do try to listen to, we do all kinds of programming, and I think it gives just a much better perspective into
Hmm.
what it is to be a woman lawyer. And so that would be my advice, is to not be shy and to really engage with our membership because we absolutely welcome it.
Now, you spoke a minute ago about Nicholas House and the opportunity for pro bono servantship. What is tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about the GAWL Foundation and how that integrates into the larger organization.
Yeah, so our GAWL Foundation, it actually is a separate organization. They have their own president, they have their own board of directors. And I think it started, this is a little bit before my time. I mean, not a little bit. It was quite a long time before my time when the GAWL Foundation was formed. But if I understand, if from what I've heard, the organization really felt like GAWL should be fulfilling its mission, which is to serve women lawyers. I think it was more about creating an identity, but women lawyers really do need a space to give back to the community and to support, like our law schools and our law students and our community, our nonprofits around the community, that sort of thing. So the foundation is the philanthropic arm of GAWL. So that's a place where the GAWL Foundation gives out our law student scholarships. So I think we do about 3 to 5 scholarships a year for outstanding women law students. And then we also do community grants. And so we give grants to other nonprofits, across the state to try to support the work that they're doing. And then I also mentioned Nicola's House. So that's also where we do community service. So service projects like, although GAWL, the larger GAWL does some pro bono programming, the foundation also is where that lives, where you can serve the community and really improve the world around us. So that's how they interact. But I would say that though they are separate, very intertwined. I mean,
Right.
of course, we're all working together to serve both purposes. So we work very closely together because the two are relative. They're two very aligned.
And I wanted to just mention that because I know sometimes people join organizations for a number of reasons. And so if, pro bono service or charitable giving is your thing, then GAWL has a space for that for you as well. And we should also mention too, as you said a moment ago, GAWL is a statewide organization. And so we have chapters throughout the state, as far away as Tifton, as far south as Valdosta, as far east as East Metro, as far west as West Georgia. So you found your tribe when you found GAWL, right? You found it. And when we also have a presence at our law schools, we have law school chapters. We have Emory, for instance. We have Georgia State. We have UGA. We have John Marshall. Because what we want to do is make sure that if there are women law students, that they're being supported and that they're getting the help that they need to navigate this profession. Because of course, the more help you get on the front end, then the more you can be a helper as you matriculate forward. Annie, I am excited about this year. You and I have been in conversation about a couple things, and I have worked with you on projects before, and I feel so good about the fact that GAWL is in your hands this year. I really, really do. I know it's going to be phenomenal. And we've talked a lot of shop and a lot of business, and we do want you to join GAWL before I get off topic a little bit. It's very easy. All you have to do is go to www.gawl.org, and we're spelling GAWL. GAWL. It's the acronym for Georgia Association for Women Lawyers. We make it super easy. Once you hit that home page, look up in the right-hand corner. There's going to be a button there that says join or renew. We'd love to have you. And if you haven't decided yet, maybe you don't know if you want to join, poke around on the website. Look at all the amazing stuff that we're doing. Look at all the phenomenal women who are members of the organization that you'll get a chance to network with should you become a member. But I wanted to, as we close, because I appreciate you stopping by. I know it's been a long work day. Tell us something that because we know Annie the serious side and Annie who moves mountains for women lawyers and does all the things for DeKalb pro bono. But what is something that folks might not just readily know about you or may not be readily available publicly? I think that's a good place to close.
All right. Well, I will tell you something that people may not know, but before I do want to say thank you so much for having me and for your amazing words. And I also want to say, of all the things you talk about, all the things that I did, and it's not me. I do a lot of things, but I also have built an incredible team. I am so grateful that of all the people, all the phone calls that I made, that I got a lot of yeses. And the people, the community that I built around that have become my network have come back. And so we just have some incredible board members who are really fulfilling the mission, including you, Miss Ebony Phillips. I am so excited to have you as our president-elect. I cannot wait to see what it's going to be like. I cannot wait to have you at the helm of this organization because speaking of amazing ladies, you have just everything you touch turns to gold, and you've done so many amazing, incredible things with this organization and just in general. So I do want to say
Oh,
thank you
Annie,
for that. Yes, and I cannot wait to share with you
thank
when
you.
it's your turn to sit in this seat.
You're very kind. Thank you so much.
Of course. And I will, all right, so something that people may not know about me. Well, if you follow me on social media, you probably do know this, but I am a really big fan of the Atlanta Dream, our WNBA team. I am a super fan of
Okay.
women's basketball. So if you ever go to one of those games, you will see me because I go to every single one. So
Wow.
you probably don't know that about me, that I am a huge fan of our women's basketball. In fact, I'm actually on the West Coast right now at the WNBA finals, which are happening this week. So yeah, that's definitely something that you can find me at any day during the summer.
As long as I've known you, had no idea. That's such a great little trivia piece. Had no idea. And I want the dream to win it all. I mean, I really do.
It's been a tough couple of years, but they're going to bring it back. We've got some great new ownership, some amazing
Yeah.
players, and I think in the next year we might make it all the way to the top.
I'm excited for it. I love the fact that those women are able to do what they do in yet another male dominated profession. Speaking
Yep.
of male dominated professions. And so I'm always so impressed and just what it takes, and especially for them, because there does seem to be such a disparity between
Yep.
the women's league and the men's league, but that's a whole other conversation for a different podcast show. Annie, thank you so much for coming by. I have enjoyed having you here. Thank you for saying yes and coming on. And even though you're on the West Coast, for being here for us. This has been this first episode of this year's She's Got GAWL podcast. We are very excited about our new membership year. You have no idea how much fun you're going to have if you join. And all you have to do is go to www.gawl.org, and we're spelling GAWL, GAWL, because it's an acronym for the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, right there on the homepage. Go to your right hand corner, click join or renew, or just poke around on the website. This has been Annie Jordan. She is our president, and we are in for a magnificent year with her at the helm. Thank you for coming by, Annie. And until next time, I'm going to quote you, Annie: show up and be present.
Thank you so much.